So things may be escalating even more in the Persian Gulf as I'm recording this. Desal plants may be hit, and the power plants that are feeding those desalination plants. And anybody who's been in that region of the world for any amount of time knows how important those desalination plants are. You take them out and there's real issues. Now, you got Fujairah in the UAE and Yanbu in Saudi. At the moment, they're still operational. If Yanbu gets taken out, that's around 4 or 5 million barrels a day gone. Fujairah is probably around, I think it's 1.5 or 2. That's the UAE bypass for the Strait of Hormuz. They pipe it over to that side. And of course, Yanbu is the pipeline Saudi uses to get from over Dammam or wherever straight over to Yanbu, out on the Red Sea, as we said before. On top of that, you've got what's happening in North Iraq, Kurdistan. You've got Suleimania, which is a beautiful town if you've ever been there. It's beautiful. And that's been hammered by reports at the moment. It's been rumoured for a while that the Kurds may be being armed up. And if you know anything about that region, as I was saying before, there's a lot of rivalries going on in that part of the world. But could another front open up in that area on the Iran-Iraq border? And as before, when you consider a whole lot of factors, and one of the big ones being the SPRs across the world are now drawn down. Like the US SPR, and it's not one, it's in about four different locations. That may be down to around 320 million barrels. And perhaps the lowest it can go is around 250, 280 estimated. Who knows? And just on that, the way they get it out, if you're ever wondering what it is it comes down to sort of density. And that is, they'll inject water or treated water like brine, and they'll inject that down into the salt caverns. And of course, that brine's heavier than oil. So the oil will come to the top and basically just push out the top, and they'll move it to wherever it's got to go. Pipe it to the ports for export or wherever it's going. Now, with that, there may have been a slowdown in the uptake from companies taking those barrels from the SPRs. Why? Maybe because it's just it may be a bad trade to do it with the current prices. As in, they've got to pay back a ratio of, for every one they take, it may be 1.2, 1.3 barrels they've got to put back in for what they take. So that may be a good indicator of where the big trading companies think that the price of oil may actually be going. In Australia, it could be critical to the price what's happening in Russia as well as the Persian Gulf and China. China may have started resuming taking cargoes, crude. That may not be a good thing for Asia. Now, Russia has at the moment, mosquitoes, banned diesel exports, diesel, jet fuel, etc. And that's a big thing. And when you look at Australia, what's going to happen to the diesel price in Australia if all this chaos continues and escalates in the Middle East and Eastern Europe? Successive governments in Australia may have left Australia with a refining capacity of around 220,000, 250,000 barrels a day. max. Out of that, maybe around 70, 80, 90,000 estimated barrels of diesel. Domestic consumption per day of diesel is around 500, 550, close to 600,000 barrels a day. But the refining capacity, 70 or 80,000 barrels per day. That's why Australia is in a position where it is so reliant on imports. And for the regime ministers to get up there and stick their chest out saying we've got more fuels or dieselates, jet fuel and diesel, etc., than when the war started, is just, well, look at the price for a start and watch the price of diesel, for example, over the next few weeks if the Persian Gulf continues to escalate, and Eastern Europe. And then we've also got sulfur. Most of the production in Australia is gas condi. I mean, there is oil wells, but most of it's gas condi stripped out of the gas, and it's pretty light, like the density, the SG, specific gravity, or certain parts of the world, the API. Like the API will be more up towards 35, 40 and over, like real light, sweet crude. No, not really any H2S, hydrogen sulfide. But out of the Middle East, Persian Gulf, you've got the heavy crudes with the sulfur. And that sulfur is critical for many industries, mining, etc. That's where you get sulfuric acid from, for a start. It's horrible stuff to deal with. And it takes specialized equipment, like everything's got to be H2S rated because it's very corrosive to pipe into metal, to tanks, to everything. But at the end of the day, no matter what the lefties may scream about the energy transition and all this, Australia runs on diesel. And just on ppm, since I'm talking about H2S, all these lefties that are screaming about net zero, that are trying to change an entire energy grid of a first world country, Australia, because of something like 400 or 420 ppm of CO2 in the atmosphere. You know, and don't give me the liquid bullshit, but I've already made a video on this on the channel a long time ago. 400, estimate 400, let's say for a round number, 400 ppm. Okay, 10,000 ppm is 1%. 1,000 ppm is 0.1%. 400 ppm is 0.04%. So if you look around whatever room you're sitting in and look at the corner of that room, or even the screen you're watching this video on, and a teeny section at the bottom of the screen, a teeny box, is 400 ppm. And that rise in sea levels, what's going to kill us and we're going to all burn to death, or whatever, you know, whatever they want to say. I mean, wasn't it back in 2016 or something, we only had 8 years or something? Like, it's just on and on and on. But it wouldn't surprise me now with this data center stuff, because the lefties are so keen, maybe so keen for these data centers. Surveillance. But if this gets sort of like, can you run a data center off ancient technology like a windmill? Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Like and subscribe if you can. And of course, nothing on this channel is ever financial advice whatsoever. Just me rambling. And I'll keep rambling on the next one. Cheers.